for the holding of general elections in South Sudan, but the date remains uncertain. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smani. The electoral campaign for the presidential election on the 7th of September kicked off on Thursday with popular rallies and local meetings hosted by the three candidates or the political groups supporting them. The three candidates, Mr. Aushish Youssef for the Socialist Forces Front FFS, Mr. Tebboune Abdelmajid as an independent candidate, and Mr. Hassani Sharif Abdelali for the Movement of Society for Peace MSP, will spend 20 days trying to convince the public of the merits of their respective programs. It should be noted that the Independent National Election Authority, ANI, has deployed all the material and logistical sources or resources and made all the necessary arrangements to ensure that the election campaign runs smoothly. The chairman of the ANI, Mohamed Sharfi, affirmed that his body was ready to organize the presidential election within the framework of its constitutional commitments to neutrality, transparency, and the preservation of the voters' free choice. He added that the ANI will accompany this important event at several levels in coordination with the authorized bodies by monitoring the conduct of rallies in accordance with legal provisions and ensuring that candidates have equal time slots in the audio-visual media. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has honored at the El Mouradia Palace here in Algiers the medal-winning athletes of the Olympic Games Paris 2024, which wound up last Sunday. These were Iman Khalifa, gold medal, Kilia Nemur, gold medal, and Jamel Sjetti, bronze medal, by awarding them medals in the order of national merit as well as financial rewards in the presence of their families. The Algerian delegation taking part in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games returned to Algiers on Monday, where they were welcomed at Houari Boumediene Airport by the Minister of Youth and Sports, Abderrahmane Hamed. Algeria took part in the Paris Olympics with a delegation of 46 athletes, 27 men and 19 women, in 15 different disciplines. Now, Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi has chaired a government meeting devoted to preparations for the start of the new social year and the examining of executive decrees relating to the customs and fisheries sectors as well as other issues. The details in this report by Said Bougazi.
During the meeting, the government examined, in accordance with the directives of the President of the Republic, the preparations for the forthcoming start of the 2024-2025 social year through the various procedures and proactive measures that have been taken by the different sectors concerned to ensure the best possible conditions for the start of the new school year for people with special needs, as well as the start of the new university and vocational training and education year. The government also examined a draft executive decree relating to persons authorized to declare goods in detail, which aims to revise the regulatory framework governing the profession of customs agent with a view to strengthening customs governance and supporting developments in foreign trade, as well as adapting it to international economic developments. The government also examined an executive decree setting out the conditions and procedures for fishing with a view to promoting fish products and developing deep-sea fishing. Lastly, the government examined a number of measures relating to the monitoring of the implementation of the additional development program for the province of Tisemsilt decided by the President of the Republic, particularly in its part relating to the development of the road network, and also heard the communication within the framework of the energy transition policy on service stations for reloading batteries for electric cars aimed at a gradual transition to electric mobility. The
Turkish the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Gujil, and the Chairman of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, have chaired at the Council's headquarters in Algiers a coordination meeting concerning the upcoming activities of both chambers of parliament within the framework of parliamentary diplomacy. Let's listen to what Mr. Gujil has said in his speech at the meeting.
الوضع اللي راهو يعيشه العالم حاليا والوضع اللي رانا نعيشه ايضا نحن في الجزائر.
The situation that Algeria and the world are witnessing requires further coordination in the international relations, particularly at parliamentary level. We have relations with parliaments in the African continent, Arab and Islamic countries, and parliaments in the rest of the world. At this stage, we need to know how to support more and more, to know about our priorities and goals. When it comes to Algeria's position on international crises, notably the Palestinian and Sahrawi causes, under the instructions of the President of the Republic, we communicate, confirm and defend Algeria's position. Algeria always keeps its head up when it comes to causes. I am a witness to the Algerian pride at the United Nations. Things are not that easy.
The aim of this meeting is to strengthen Algeria's positive participation in regional and international parliamentary forums, and noting that the event was attended by the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committees of both chambers, members of both chambers, as well as representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the national community abroad. Let's listen to the statement issued by Mr. Boughali.
The current situation, the prevailing crises and challenges at regional and international levels require stepping up and coordinating efforts to defend the principles and constants of the Algerian foreign policy. Algeria is very active, particularly at the United Nations Security Council, in which it adopted courageous and bold positions, notably as regards the Palestinian and the Sahrawi causes. Today, parliamentary diplomacy is gaining in importance among countries and nations. The voice of Algeria is now heard, and its presence is very strong in international fora.
That was the chairman of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has received a telephone call from the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Commonwealth and Development of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, David Lammy. The talks between the two ministers focused on British-Algerian relations and regional and international issues of common interest. The two parties welcomed the exceptional level of relations between Algeria and Great Britain, particularly in areas linked to trade and investment, and agreed to maintain the growing momentum of bilateral cooperation through concrete actions, notably the forthcoming third session of strategic dialogue to be held in Algiers under the co-chairmanship of the foreign ministers of the two countries. On the political front, the two ministers exchanged views and analyses on developments in the situation in the occupied Palestinian territories and in the Palestinian neighborhood, underlining that a permanent ceasefire in Gaza is the basis for any move towards de-escalation in the Middle East region. The two parties also reviewed political and security developments in the Sahel-Saharan region and discussed ways of contributing to strengthening peace and security and to development in the region. Now, the arrested terrorist Moussa Zaidi has revealed details of a bloodthirsty plan by the MAC terrorist movement recently foiled by the security forces to disrupt the presidential election on the 7th of September, sow chaos and destabilize the country through a series of terrorist operations. Broadcast on Algerian television on Wednesday evening, a documentary entitled The MAC Terrorist Movement, Treasury and Collaboration reported the confession of this terrorist arrested on the 4th of August at the port of Béjaïa while attempting to smuggle large quantities of arms and ammunition into the country on a sea crossing from the port of Marseille in France. Sadly, as we followed in our top stories, the toll of the Zionist genocidal aggression against the Gaza Strip has risen to 40,005 martyrs and 92,401 wounded since the 7th of October 2023. This was according to the Palestinian health authorities that said that the Zionist occupation army has committed 3 massacres in the last 24 hours in the Gaza Strip, resulting in 40 deaths and 107 injured. The Palestinian health authorities have indicated that a number of victims are still under the rubble and on the roads, and that the occupation forces are preventing ambulances and civil protection teams from coming to their aid. The ambassador of the State of Palestine to Algiers, Faiz Abu Aita, has said that Algeria has succeeded in bringing to light the Zionist crimes against the Palestinian people through its stance in favor of the Palestinian cause at the United Nations, underlining that its non-permanent membership of the Security Council is extremely important, as it is convinced of the need to defend this cause by taking favorable positions to protect the Palestinian people against Zionist barbarism and its cold-blooded crimes. More with Mohammed Khatel.
Speaking on Algerian television, the Palestinian ambassador to Algiers said that at a time when the world is turning its back on the crimes committed in Gaza, Algeria places this issue at the top of the agenda as a major national and humanitarian issue, and has succeeded in bringing to light the atrocities committed against the defenseless Palestinian people, notably children. Faiz Abu Aita called on the countries that have normalized their relations with the Zionist entity to wake up, because these countries believe that normalization with the Zionist entity will serve the Palestinian people and their cause, he deplored. As for national unity, the diplomat underlined that this is an extremely important issue without which we will be in a weak position, recalling that Algeria has made great efforts to consecrate Palestinian unity and put an end to division. That is why we urge everyone to unify the Palestinian ranks to face the occupier. With regard to the massacres in Gaza since October 7, the diplomat described them as a disgrace for the Zionist occupier and all those who support it. He also welcomed the honorable positions of the European and American peoples and of certain countries, in contrast to the official position of some of these countries and governments.
The President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, has met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara to discuss a ceasefire in Gaza. During their meeting at the presidential palace in the Turkish capital, the two officials discussed the massacres committed by the Zionist entity in the Palestinian territories, as well as the steps for a permanent ceasefire and peace. The Turkish president denounced the conduct of the Zionist entity in the aggression it has been carried out since the 7th of October, notably in the Gaza Strip, criticizing the West for its inalienability to put an end to its genocide. Mahmoud Abbas's visit to Turkey comes in the aftermath of a visit to Russia, during which he held a meeting with Arab ambassadors. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, has stressed the need for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip to allow women living free to recover their dignity. In a message released on the X platform, UNRWA Commissioner General Felipe Lazzarini underlined women's suffering in Gaza after 10 months of genocidal war, underlining the need for a ceasefire to allow every woman and every girl living in the Palestinian enclave to recover some of their dignity. He explained that women and girls do not wash for months and have to cut their hair very short because of lice, lack of shampoo, water and combs. The killing and wounding and displacement of Palestinians continue in the occupied West Bank in the context of the ongoing genocidal war on the besieged Gaza Strip, which has lasted 10 months since the United Nations Office, or said the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA. Said Bougazi has more details in this report.
In an update published on Wednesday, OCHA said that the number of Palestinian children killed by live ammunition fired by Zionist forces has almost tripled since 7th October 2023 compared to the previous 10 months, from 39 to 115. Similarly, the number of Palestinian boys and girls injured by live ammunition fired by Zionist soldiers more than doubled over the same periods, 1,411 compared with 615. Since the start of the war on Gaza up to 12th August, 594 Palestinians were killed in the West Bank, including East al-Quds, in addition to 2 others who died as a result of injuries sustained before 7th October, the source added. The majority, 577, were killed by Zionist forces and around 10 by settlers. OCHA has recorded around 1,250 settler attacks on Palestinians between 7th October 2023 and 12th August 2024. Around 120 of these resulted in martyrs and injuries, and around 1,000 resulted in material damage. In 130 cases, there were both casualties and material damage. On another front, the report reveals that the demolition of Palestinian homes and the destruction of public infrastructure is also continuing in the West Bank. Between 6th and 12th August, the Zionist occupiers demolished 9 structures belonging to Palestinians, according to OCHA. As a result, 37 Palestinians were displaced, including 13 children, and some 789 other people were affected by other events, mainly children, OCHA concluded.
The media office in Gaza has said that the closure by the Zionist entity of the Rafah terminal has caused the death of more than 1,000 children, sick and injured as a result of the aggression by the occupying army. The Director General of the office told a press conference on Wednesday that the Zionist entity had prevented the entry of medical supplies, health delegations, medicines and various types of aid, which has led to a serious deterioration in the health sector and the humanitarian situation. He pointed out that the occupying forces have been blocking the entry of all kinds of aid into the Gaza Strip for 100 days, regretting that the closure of the Rafah border crossing had caused the death of more than 1,000 sick and injured children. The humanitarian disaster in the Gaza Strip is worsening at all levels. The Palestinian official said that the closure of the border crossing was a blatant violation of international law, international humanitarian law, and all international agreements. Now, the Special Representative of the Secretary General in South Sudan, Nicholas Haysom, has said that the UN continues to support an enabling environment for the holding of general elections in South Sudan, but the date remains uncertain. Nicholas Haysom, who also heads the United Nations mission in South, briefed the Security Council on developments in the political, security and humanitarian situation in the country, which is due to hold its first post-independence elections in December. According to Haysom, the political parties are continuing their discussions on the necessary key steps for the vote and to resolve outstanding issues within the framework of a transitional roadmap which emerged from a peace agreement of 2018.
We understand the high-level standing committee has completed its report, which is anticipated to be discussed by the President, yesterday as well as today. And we understand that a preliminary report has been released by the Minister of Cabinet Affairs. On the critical issue of the date of elections, we understand, however, that no date has been agreed as yet, and that the President has designated the electoral institutions to produce a feasible proposal on when these elections may be held. I note, however, that there is still ongoing consultations between the political stakeholders as to whether elections can or should be held this year. This makes it difficult to treat 22 December as a definitive trigger in isolation from other critical factors.
Regarding the humanitarian situation in South Sudan, the Director of Operations and Advocacy Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, Adam Worsernu, said heavy rains since May have worsened the humanitarian situation.
South Sudan is indeed in the grips of a growing food insecurity crisis, as has just been referred to, a climate crisis and an economic crisis, all while suffering the impact of the conflict in Sudan and dwindling financial support for the humanitarian response. Without immediate action, things will only get even worse in the weeks and months ahead. As we speak, more than 9 million people, or 76%, of South Sudan's population require humanitarian protection and assistance. Of them, 54% are children, 27% women. A total of 7.1 million people are acutely food insecure, an increase of around 1.5 million people since last year.
That was the Director of Operations and Advocacy Office for the Coordination and Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, Adam Worsernu. This is Radio Algeria International.
and artwork. A weekly program that tells stories flavored with art.
Shabi or popular music in Algeria can be translated as Algerian portraits.
Yeah, Algerian portraits. It's about profile of
listeners, and welcome to our program, A Story in an Artwork. Today's story is told in a very popular song, known not only in Algeria but also in other Arab countries. Though sad, it remains so expressive. The song Ya Bahr al-Ghamq or Bahr al-Tufan, Arabic for flooded sea or deep sea, is today's story.
اللي خرج بالصبحية ما رجعش في العشية اللي خرج بالصبحية ما رجعش في العشية زيد عباب البحرية حتى أخبر لبان بحر الطوفان.
Deep Sea is a song about the sea, but unlike those romantic songs that find in the sea a symbol of beauty, or meditative lyrics that find in the sea a source of stillness and reflection, the song Deep Sea denounces the power of the sea and laments the death of those whose lives ended because of it. Written and sung by Algerian folk poet and singer Mohammed El-Baji, Deep Sea is a personal, sad experience that he lived fully. He lost a dear one in the sea, who drowned while sailing on a fishing boat in 1963. In the song, he laments the death of both this dear person or friend and all those who sank in the sea. He says, "O deep sea, you took the lives of men and women, youngsters and children, and since you took my dear one on his boat, I never saw him again." El-Baji goes on with his elegy and narrates all the questions that crossed his mind when his friend did not come back. He says in the song, "Since he left in the morning, he did not come back in the evening. I asked the fishermen he knew, but no one knew where he was." With plain but touching words in Algerian dialect, the singer speaks about his unspeakable pain, the pain of losing someone in an unknown somewhere. He cries the loss of his friend, saying, "From the boat nothing remained but few wood sticks carried through the waves. When I saw them, I realized that my dear one had died. Dear God, show mercy on him."
يا البحر الغامق مداديت رجال ونسوان شابات وشوبان صبيات وصبيان. يا البحر الغامق مداديت رجال ونسوان شابات وشوبان.
For the singer, those who die in the sea do not allow their dear ones to cry their loss properly, which was his case. He wanted at least to see the body of his friend, but the sea does not always give this chance to its victims. The singer does not only blame the sea for taking the life of his friend, but also for depriving him from the right to lament his death and attend his funeral. He says, "If he died in my arms, I would bury him, and with time I get healed. I would visit his grave and cry him till the fire of his loss is put out." Of course, with its words of Algerian dialect that get straight to the listener's heart, the song outlived its composer, just like all beautiful works of art. And after Al-Baji, the song Deep Sea was sung by Boujama Al-Anqis, Ammar Al-Zahi, among others. And one of the most popular covers of the song Deep Sea is the one performed by Rai music icon Shab Nasro in the 1990s.